Hi, I'm Greg Dell with attorneys Dell and Schaefer, and today I'm here with attorney Steve Jessup. How are you, Steve?
Doing great, Greg. Yourself?
Good. Kind of an interesting news development that we're going to discuss today, which came about through the story that just hit, that we found out about right before the new year, end of 2019, about New York life insurance company buying the disability and life division of Cigna Life Insurance Company. And I know as soon as I got the news, we all kind of called each other and were really shocked about this event taking place. But I think this is going to be a major event in terms of the whole disability industry, because Cigna was already like one of the top 5 largest group disability insurers. But what was your initial reaction? Why were you so surprised by this purchase?
I mean, I was so surprised mainly because New York Life has never had a foothold in the group disability insurance divisions, meaning writing employer-provided policies. Most policies you see with New York Life are individual policies that people purchase on their own. So even though they've been around since the 1800s, jumping into a completely new, and not area of the law, but processing of it, it was a big surprise. And there wasn't any rumblings of it like you saw with the Hartford Aetna and Lincoln Liberty. There was like some talk. It was just, hey, did you see this? And I was like, you got to be kidding.
Right, so we've seen a lot of consolidation going on. We saw the Aetna-Hartford merger, we saw the Liberty-Lincoln merger, and now we see this merger, which this was the biggest one because Hartford-Aetna was like a little over $1 billion. This was a $6.3 billion transaction, which shows the magnitude of how big Cigna is. Now, that included life insurance. We don't know exactly how much was disability and how much was life. But for people who are watching this video, they're either people who have New York Life disability insurance policies and now they're concerned about what's going to happen. Is there going to be any difference? But most importantly, the Cigna people are going to be concerned. What's going to happen when New York Life takes over my claim or when I go to make a claim? What should I expect? So what are your thoughts? Obviously, we don't know because we're filming this January 2019, 20. 6 months from now, they're going to start to do this transition. So what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I think from the perspective, if you have a New York Life policy, it's an individual policy, so I don't think they're going to be affected by this. But the Cigna policyholders, and there are a lot of them, I mean, in any given day, proportionately speaking, we get more calls with Cigna denials or issues with theirs. So now when a company is buying, they're going to take a look at everything. They're going to look at how the processing and claims are. They're going to start investigating claims. It's like what we saw, when you were mentioning in the Lincoln Liberty, especially in my experience, all the old Liberty Mutual claims were really starting to get reviewed. We saw an uptick in denials for both sides of it. So there could be that New York Life will come in, the way that they're going to evaluate, see if they think there's cases that should be denied. And I honestly think that there stands a better chance, just looking at the history of those other acquisitions last year, that there's going to be a lot of claim denials that could be happening. And even for people who've been on claim for an extended period of time that think, you're relatively secure, you haven't had too many issues, those claims are going to come under scrutiny now, so it's a matter of making sure that the information is correct in the files and everything's being documented still. So it could cause quite a bit of turbulence for people heading into the summer of this year.
Okay, so it's actually a really interesting merger because Cigna's the gigantic group disability player, which is ERISA, like you said, employer-provided policies. Then you have New York Life, which is primarily individual disability, which is usually managed by Unum, life insurance company, disability company that we talked about. But what's interesting here, so you have this individual in New York, group on Cigna. Now they're going to come together. But now you're going to see New York Life, the one who's going to say, hey, this is how we were evaluating our claims, and start to bring those over to Cigna. So what should a Cigna person do? And here's my thoughts. Number one is I think that if you're a Cigna policyholder, you should start thinking that this is like a whole new claim over again, because there's going to be people at New York Life who really want to try to prove something with the claim. Like, I got to look at this claim, I got to do something different, and they're going to completely reevaluate the claim. You're going to have a new nurse consultant, a new doctor possibly internally review the claim. So what you should do if you're a Cigna policyholder right now is you need to ramp up your medical treatment. And by that I mean that if you're usually only going once every 6 months, I would highly suggest that you start going at least once a quarter. Don't be complacent on what you used to do, because if you are, and New York Life doesn't do things that way, they're going to just say you probably don't have enough treatment. And I think that's the most important thing that these claimants with Cigna need to do right now.
And I think too, one thing that could really cause some issues here is chances are they'll maintain a lot of the employees and people will be carried over from Cigna just by volume. They're going to have to. But unlike the other mergers that you mentioned where they both were doing ERISA group stuff, the cultures are kind of the same. Here you have the culture of individual private policies and the culture of a company and the group. And how are those going to clash in the way, like you said, they do business, they evaluate, they look at? Is that going to cause issues? We've seen some issues in those other companies, mergers, and it can be expected to be seen here.
Right, and like who are they going to use for their medical reviews? Or are they going to go internal or are they going to go external? But I think in the beginning you're not going to see a tremendous disruption. I think it's going to, like, New York Life's going to be like, let's get everything in, let's get it into our system, let's get the processing set up, and then let's see how we're going to streamline. But I bet you they're going to have an individual division and a group division, and Cigna's people will probably all come over, although there'll be some internal transition. Directors, supervisors, plus their in-house lawyers as to how these claims are going to be filed. But regardless of the fact, we've handled tons and tons of cases with Cigna. Obviously, we've been handling for over 20 years the New York life insurance cases. We know both companies very well. We know both of their claims handling tactics. So it's just going to be a final decision as to who's going to take the lead on what technique they want to put in. But it should be interesting as it evolves. So if you have a question about a New York life disability claim or a Cigna disability claim, feel free to give Steve or myself a call. We always offer a free initial consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to help you right away with your disability claim.